This is a fan-generated show. If you'd like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our new Rumble channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm thrilled to announce the release of my new book, Obama's True Legacy, How He Transformed America. There's a reason why Mike Huckabee calls it a ferocious and chilling read. Order it now at Amazon.com or at FrontPageMag.com. Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, another fantastic program with another fantastic guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember we are a fan-generated program. We need all the help we can get. And even though we are blessed with Donald Trump entering the White House, we are still being shadow banned and persecuted by some dark forces. So please subscribe to our YouTube and Rumble channels. Click instant notifications. Visit us at jamieglazov.com and subscribe to our newsletter there. And if you have some extra finances, please donate to us. Follow us at Jamie Glazov on Twitter, X, and on Facebook. Most importantly, please keep supporting our producer and freedom fighter throughout the world, Annie Cyrus, at liveuptofreedom.com. What an honor and privilege to have with us this evening the GOAT, A.J. Rice, America's publicist, columnist, humorist, and author of the new book, The White Privilege Album. AJ, how can we explain you gracing us with your presence this evening?
Well, you got to give the people what they want, right? And I always want to hang out with the gang. I'm the OG, so I've been hanging out with gangs my whole life in Philadelphia. So it's great to be here.
AJ, what an honor and privilege. AJ, you hang out in some pretty big circles. Let's talk a little bit about that. Tell us about the big people you've been around, the big circles you travel in. And I think that the Trump team is being filled up with a lot of people that are in your circle.
Sure. You know, the Trump cabinet is slowly becoming the Publius PR cabinet. I mean, it's an honor. It's amazing that we're at this space. Trump sort of, reshaped the Republican Party over the last decade. I mean, when I came to Washington, D.C., which is, the Porta-John that I'm in right now, broadcasting out to you, the swamp, the establishment, I mean, they kind of ruled the day. And when the OG came down the golden escalator, even Jamie, because I know we talk always in terms of analysts or show hosts or guests, but to sort of expand it out, you have to understand, even someone that's running a PR firm, sometimes they can't get a taste. They can't get in on the action because the establishment even kind of controls who's going to be promoting who. So when Trump was running against 18, stiffs there in 2016, a lot of the establishment sort of uniparty, people that, Nepo babies and everyone else that, the fancy kids that have been prepped their whole life for this moment, to work on, this campaign or that, the John Kasich campaign, right? They've been waiting their whole life for John Kasich to be president. Trump shows up and he starts scalping people. But it sort of provided a pathway for our PR firm because a lot of these other, PR firms and GR firms, right? They're the people that have a lobbyist in-house. They all went other directions. Some went to Rubio, some went to Rand Paul, and that's fine. We like Ted Cruz, fine. But it cleared a way for me to kind of be the one person who, with our PR firm, start to represent a lot of MAGA world as it was unfolding there in 2015. And if you fast forward to today, I mean, we've come a long way because half of the cabinet we have either direct connection to or, work for some apparatus that they either oversee or own, or we promoted their books. So, I mean, if you want me to start at the top, I mean, I guess the highest profile people would be Pete Hegseth. I mean, I've known Pete since, I was Laura Ingram's executive producer and I was booking him when he was running this, I think it was Concerned Veterans for America group. And then obviously later on, I was the publicist for his books, a couple of his books. Scott Bessent, who's at Treasury, he actually owned All Seasons Press, which published Naomi Wolf and Peter Navarro and the Tucker Carlson biography. Obviously, RFK Jr. I mean, I work with Skyhorse. We've worked on his books. We also do the media for his super PAC. Vivek. I actually worked directly for the Vivek campaign last year. Our job was to put the surrogates out in the media. So, I mean, you could go down the list. We did Tulsi Gabbard's book last year. I did a children's book with Michael Waltz. So that's your national security advisor and your D&I director. Two of our friends, I mean, Monica Crowley's like my sister. She was nominated yesterday. Peter Navarro, I'm the only person that can handle being around Navarro. We have similar energy. He was nominated yesterday. We've done 3 of his books in the last 3 years. So look, Kevin Bacon's from Philadelphia. I'm from Philadelphia. Although when you're looking at the Trump cabinet, it's not 6 degrees of AJ Rice, it's 1 or 2, right? So you go from 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon to 1 degree of AJ Rice and Publius PR. So for us, look, I'm a humble servant. I'll spike the football a little bit now. I don't talk about these things while they're happening because, as you know, Jamie, it's not good to be the general manager of the Red Sox and the Yankees at the exact same time, right? But now that it's over, I can talk about it a little bit.
Is being on the Glazov Gang the peak of your career so far?
Absolutely. But like I said earlier, the people have been begging you for this. So, we have to give them, Elvis has entered the building here. I even got dressed up for you here.
Yeah. No. We've been flooded with emails and calls for a long time to have AJ Rice on.
But I think you know how to sniff out a good puppet master, even one that tells jokes like I do. So, I mean, look, I've been in this game a long time, and you have too. I mean, you and I've seen your name because I've worked with Robert Spencer. I worked with Timmerman. I've worked with Horowitz over the years. I mean, I know, some of that crew. So it's an honor for me to be here for sure.
Thank you.
And, you put on a great show and you don't do the normal content that a lot of the other shows that are just sort of phoning it in or playing it safe.
Yeah.
You definitely don't play it safe, brother.
Thank you, AJ. Really appreciate it. AJ, I want to talk about you for a minute. You're a unique personality. Could you tell us a little bit about your upbringing? How did you become a conservative? Were you always a conservative? Maybe tell us about an author that had a big impact on you in your childhood. Maybe a book that you read. What made you AJ Rice?
Well, I mean, I got boomer parents, right? So I'm a millennial. I'm a geriatric millennial, but I'm about almost the oldest millennial you could find. I'm like Gandalf the millennial. And, my parents were Catholic from Philadelphia. Both of their mothers were German. My parents, both of their fathers were Irish. And, Catholic school, 12 years of Catholic school. So, coming through the 50s through the 60s into the 70s, these were Democrats, in Northeast Philadelphia. My father's father was the head of Plumbers Union of Philadelphia. My mom had a little more of money, I guess, a little fancier upbringing, but, she went to an all-girls, Catholic college, even Holy Family. Before then, she eventually ended up in medical school at Hahnemann, which is now part of Drexel University there in Philadelphia. My dad, though, he went to Penn State, but he was working as a parole officer and on the weekends working as a coal miner in West Virginia while he was putting himself through law school. He went to West Virginia Law School. So, look, I'm a state school kid. My dad is too, but they were Democrats, I think probably up until, George McGovern showed up, right? So 72. And then they slowly, 4 years later, Reagan, loses in, the buyer's remorse primary in 76, right? And then, the rest is sort of history. And I think there's a lot of, boomers that migrated in that way. My parents aren't uptight. My mom was dressing like a hippie with the goofy part down the middle of her head, wearing the John Lennon glasses. my dad was a Motown guy, a Philly soul guy, right? So, Smokey Robinson and the Four Tops and Al Green and all that. But we were raised with, I was raised, my brother and I, with Philadelphia sports teams, which means we are S talkers. We're S talkers, and the gang likes that. The G gang likes it. And this is why I think, and look, my birthday, some people say that I'm the Antichrist because of this, but I was born on the same day, not the same year, as Howard Stern and Rush Limbaugh. Now, these two men, both born on January 12th, couldn't have been more different. But I grew up listening to both of them, and unfortunately, Howard has left us. He's out on Long Island in the basement with P. Diddy and Billy Joel, giving each other booster shots, getting out the baby oil, and and it's amazing. My first taste of Donald Trump was listening to Howard in the 90s because Trump was on all the time. That was really how I got to know Trump. Now, obviously, Limbaugh, different story. And I talk about that with the book. Rush used to say, so if you're asking what did I read and what did I listen to, I would say Limbaugh. I'm a Rush baby for sure. Limbaugh used to say his job was to use irreverent humor to illustrate truth, right? Use absurdity to illustrate truth. And that's what I try to do with my books. And, I was lucky enough to have two women when I was a puppy, pull me from the river like Moses and be big sisters to me for the last 20 years. And that's Laura Ingraham and Monica Crowley. I mean, they really have been good mentors. And Andrew Breitbart, he and I got very close. I never worked for him, but he was a fill-in host for Michael Savage, for Jerry Doyle, for Laura sometimes. So I got close to him even before. I mean, back when Breitbart.com was just sort of this wire service, right? So before the Acorn sting and all with James and Hannah and all that. So he was a mentor too. And look, he was a Dodgers fan and I'm a Phillies fan. So we would talk trash, especially in 08 and 09, when Matt Stairs hit that home run and Chavez Ravine out there, Breitbart was ready to jump over bridge. Jonathan Broxton. For those baseball fans out there, a little history there from the good old days. The good old days when the Dodgers would lose to the Phillies. Now they're back to beating us. So and winning World Series.
Thank you, AJ. AJ, I want to get to your book, but I really need your thoughts on the Hunter Biden pardon.
Sure. Well, it's certainly, I'm no lawyer, although I was raised by one, and I could play one on TV on the Hallmark Channel. But I would say that it appears to me that, we're dealing with a memory hold, retroactive, time traveling pardon here that goes back to a time that I didn't realize that Hunter would need to be pardoned in 2014 or 2015 or 2016. In fact, I remember a perfect phone call. It's another one of these phrases like the very fine people. The perfect phone call. I do recall that one of the two fake impeachments was about the possibility that the Biden crime family might have done some things untoward in Ukraine, possibly with Zelensky, and that Trump was trying to figure out, like Kojak or, Sherlock Holmes on what might have happened. And obviously the middle management there listening in on the phone call got him impeached because he was actually kicking the tires on the possible crimes that Joe Biden just pardoned his son for. And I'm assuming, Jamie, through osmosis, he's pardoning himself.
Thank you, AJ. AJ, you are a very funny man. And before I ask my question, did you ever do any stand-up comedy? And why didn't you become the next Chris Rock or, Richard Pryor?
Right. Well, Richard. Hey, I start this book with a blurb from Blazing Saddles
and Joseph Stalin.
Well, yeah. Well, they're the blurbs. They're the endorsements, right?
Oh, endorsements.
But Blazing Saddles. A lot of people don't know this. It's a Mel Brooks movie. A lot of people don't realize Richard Pryor helped write that movie.
Hmm.
I'm a huge Pryor fan.
Okay.
Rock, I love rock. I like Chappelle more than I even like rock.
Hmm.
And I study comedy. I study comedic history.
Hmm.
I sort of absorb as much of that. I don't care whether it's Sam Kinison or Lenny Bruce or George Carlin. I try to study it as much as I study.
AJ, my one of my favorite scenes is Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder walking into the jail in Stir Crazy. Remember?
Exactly.
But AJ, I'm sorry, just because I got to get to this here. When I think about totalitarians, you just think about the mullahs and they're standing up somewhere talking, and then you picture just some women giggling at them. It's the greatest weapon. It's what tyrants fear, I think, on many levels the most. We know they fear other things, but to be ridiculed, to be laughed at. And you are a master at that. Tell us a little bit about why humor and ridicule is so important towards totalitarians. And I think you figured that out and that's why you engage in it, isn't it?
Absolutely. And just look, I've never done stand up. People, you're not the first to ask me that. Gutfeld's killing it. He's obviously crushing the Jimmies and the Stevens and the rest of the sort of pedantic, monochromatic, doughy Gen X.
Michael Loftus is very funny too.
Loftus is a former client of mine. So, I mean, when I was in grad school, I used to make money writing jokes for comics. And now I kind of write them for myself. So, but let's get to your totalitarian question.
Okay.
Some people have said that the first version of history is written by comedians, and that when comedians are scared, that true totalitarianism has arrived. In my first book, The Woking Dead,
Which was a bestseller.
it was. And look, this is the sequel to that. You can get them both, volume 1, volume 2. But you were just talking about the mullahs, and obviously you can't dunk on the mullahs. You get thrown in the pit and stoned to death. But here's the thing. I found it interesting because this was happening in Venezuela. There were these underground comedy clubs that were popping up where Venezuelan comedians were making fun of Chavez and Maduro. They were making fun of the regime. But they were like hidden underground speakeasy type deals. And they would get raided by the regime. So I wrote a section of my first book called Searching for Comedy in the Marxist World, right? So while that was happening here, right here, we were going through the cancel culture nonsense with the Me Too movement and, the George Floyd, and you can't tell this joke and you can't tell that joke. People were getting canceled, some of which were leftists that the Democrats had protected for a long time. But other people like Jeremy Piven and Aziz Ansari and Louis C.K. I mean, it was all kinds of people, right? They were, either being taken out of context or just being sort of hit with friendly fire. So yeah, I mean, let me talk to the mullahs for a second though. So Lenny Bruce, who's sort of the godfather of dirty comedy, he used to say, and at the time he was talking about the Pope, making fun of the Pope, making fun of the Kennedys, but he used to say, you can make fun of God, but you better make fun of the right God. Because if you make fun of the wrong God, right? Salman Rushdie, okay? You make fun of the wrong God, they come for you. And totalitarians of a feather flock together. So look, you remember the video of the Taliban shooting those Buddhist statues with the RPGs? It's no different than the post George Floyd takedowns of statues. And it wasn't just, we're going to get Robert E. Lee, we're going to get Stonewall Jackson. As soon as they were done with the Confederate generals, they went after the Union generals, and they went after everyone else. They took down a statue of you, Jamie. So, I mean, the reality is that all these totalitarians, they will sort of join together if they think they can reset your culture, if they can sort of reset your habits, reset your language, because that's what this is really about. And look, I know you write about this. These faculty lounges, these are the humanities departments of America. These are madrasas. That's what they are. I mean, these are, yes, they're majoring in lesbian underwater basket weaving, but they're no different than somebody jumping on stage and stabbing Salman Rushdie for a book he wrote 35 years ago. Someone jumped on stage and tried to attack Dave Chappelle for telling trans jokes. So there's really no difference. They will come for you. If they can't get you digitally, they will come physically. Rand Paul got his ribs broken. Brett Kavanaugh had a guy running around his neighborhood with a gun. Look at Steve Scalise. So, there's a pattern here if you could see it,
Thank you, AJ. So, AJ, thank you. Very profound. So, in terms of humor, definitely, just in all my studies, I remember I was thinking, especially in China, they say that when Mao solidified his power, all the people around him, their personalities completely changed. When they used to joke a lot and tell stories, and humor just disappeared out of people's character. The same with after Lenin came to power, after Stalin came to power, Khmer Rouge, North Vietnam. When you read about the biographies and stories of the people that were in the midst of these Stalins and Maos, they stopped joking around, among other things. And so you're very much on that. And so what you really go at in your book is the question and issue of race. And so they can't do it as much in terms of class in America. There was the class warfare, as we know, under Mao and Stalin. But here they're going at the race, and they can't do a revolution overnight. So they have this process of infiltration and trying to destroy the middle class, and you show all these things perfectly. But they've really got to do it through race, and that's where you go at them mercilessly. Tell us a little bit about why you do this and how.
Well, sure. And look, when you hear toxic masculinity or white privilege or the patriarchy, it's really code. It's totalitarian code for Western civilization, the middle class, and the nuclear family. Three things that the woke, which really is just some trendy term for cultural Marxists, okay? That's what they're after. They were never going to stop with this statue or that statue, or get rid of Mark Twain, get rid of Shakespeare, get rid of Einstein, whatever the hell it is. They were never going to stop there. They're never going to let a crisis go to waste. So they're going to try to undo these things, because these are the things that make Western civilization, and not all civilizations are created equal. I'm sorry, okay, but that's why some of them go away. Look, the name Antonio Gramsci. At some point, the Marxists realized they took their Lakers jersey off, they put on their Celtics jersey. Economic Marxist goes out, cultural Marxism comes in, because, as most places where Marxism has thrived, they don't have a middle class. They have a serf uprising, right? The guys the Castro boys come down out of the mountains, right? Ho Chi Minh, you pick one. But the reality is that's why the middle class has to be broken, because they knew here in the United States they were never going to get your classical economic Marxist revolution where you hang the capitalists with the rope they manufactured, right? You got to infiltrate like termites, like a tapeworm, and you got to be patient to do the long march.
Yeah, and AJ, the key here was they don't take a hammer and bang the middle class. Like Obama, they put on a tie and a suit, and they become the middle class. So it's very Alinskyite, isn't it? It's very shrewd.
For sure. And I mean, that's why Kamala kept saying she was a member of the middle class. But at the same time, Obama was in Pittsburgh saying she was from the neighborhood to the brothers. And she went after Biden in that debate, claiming she was in some kind of forced busing situation, I guess, where in Marin County or McGill University or somewhere where there's forced busing. But no. So when you heard the term, what can become unburdened by what has been, that is a stone cold Marxist statement about resetting your life, resetting your church, your diet, your culture, and canceling things. And cancel your shows, your movies, ruining your Super Bowl, anything they can get their grubby Marxist little hands on. For all the talk of joy, right, Jamie? And the gang knows this here, watching. if there's one thing we know about cultural Marxists is they will suck all joy from your life. I don't care whether it's Michael Bloomberg taking the salt shaker off your table, right? Or going after Dave Chappelle or Joe Rogan. They're here to suck all joy from you because, as JD Vance said, they want you alone, miserable, childless, marriedless. Bring some cats in from Ohio that aren't on the menu. Listening to Taylor Swift, screaming about white privilege, miserable. That's what they want. They want, because then they get to keep their customers. Because if we're happy and we can afford a home and eggs are not $9 and the third world is not being redistributed to our front yard, then we will thrive. They don't want us to thrive.
Yeah.
And that's what we make fun of them about.
And you do it brilliantly. AJ, a lot of what they're saying is never really about what they're saying. And so Black Lives Matter, and you document this perfectly. You talk about it a lot on your interviews, and you're dead on. And so I think this is just such a crucial point. So we got Black Lives Matter, but you go to their website. They did scrub it, but in the beginning, Black Lives Matter. Then you go, there's all this stuff about transgender families. It's supposed to be about Black Lives Matter, but really it's about destroying the nuclear family and a war on the black male, very specifically. They talk about joy, as you say. There's all this joy, but there really isn't a joy. Just tell us a little bit about this, but let's just focus in on that for a minute. The Black Lives Matter, but it's not really about that, is it? Because if it was, then they would have used all the money to build black neighborhoods and lots of stuff, but it's just destruction. But it's really tied into what Marx and Engels wanted, was to just get rid of the dad and the mom being parents, right?
Absolutely. Replace it with the state. 100. Look, happy people have more children, right? And they don't want you happy. They don't want white people, black people. They don't want anybody happy. And, Black Lives Matter, had all the trans mafia stuff on the website. And then they had their love letter to Hamas on the website. And right next to that, they're talking about the nuclear family being a construct of, white privilege and white supremacy. I mean, this is, this is their messages to people. I mean, they don't care about any of these black youth that are running through the streets, getting shot by a cop or killed accidentally. They don't care about any of that. It's about using racial grievance, the Trojan horse of racial grievance, to raise money so that they can push sort of an ethnocentric version of Marxism, right? That's what this is. And what's funny about it is, especially when the October 7th thing happened, it's amazing. All these left-wing Jewish comedians or entertainers, the Sarah Silvermans, the Michael Rappaports, Chuck Schumer's chubby niece, Amy Schumer, they were stunned to find out that all their friends with the pink pussycat hats on in the Me Too movement, all their friends in Black Lives Matter, all the Bernie bros, all the Bernie Sanders people, right? And others, right? Antifa and others, that they were with the Palestinians. They're like, wait a minute. You mean all the left-wing groups hate the Jews? I mean, it's unbelievable that they were the last to discover this. You've been saying it for decades, right? Spencer and other, all you guys have all been saying it. And the reality is that they were the last to discover it. Now, I like the fact that guys like Rappaport flipped, but you have to remember this. The most racist regime of the 20th century was willing to do a partnership with an Asian country, Japan, right? They were able to put aside the Aryan BS to do the deal. Most Germans, I mean, look, I joke around with my Italian friends all the time. The Italians just became white not that long ago. They became white, maybe at the end of the 20th century. But Hitler didn't see Mussolini even as white. But they were able to do this deal, Italy, Japan, and Germany. So the idea that you would get, Black trans lives matter, or queers for Palestine, another insane thing. I mean, and some left-wing people, I think, could see it. I think Bill Maher can see it. Rappaport can see it now. I mean, he sounds some days like Tucker Carlson. So I mean, the reality is that I think we're converting some people.
Yeah.
But and look, the numbers are there. We just had this election, and you talk about bringing racial harmony to very fine people. Trump was able to get the Muslims in Michigan to vote for him, the same as the Jewish voters in Pennsylvania. So maybe some of the Jewish Americans out there are finally deciding to not vote for their own beheading, right? And I think that's progress.
You know, Bill Maher definitely is on, the good side on some levels, but like so many leftists, I always look at, he's always like, well, there's the crazy left, and they just don't get that the very roots, if you even look at the 10 Commandments and thou shalt not covet, and all, the very roots of socialism go completely against the 10 Commandments and are at the root of the killing fields in Cambodia, et cetera, et cetera. We cannot have great geniuses on our show like AJ Rice without our sponsors. So we're going to take a quick sponsor break.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took My Pillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented My Pillow to bring you the best pillow in history, My Pillow 2.0. Just like all of you, I never imagined that My Pillow could get any better. That's why I haven't changed it in nearly 20 years. Then I heard about a revolutionary new technology, and I knew I had to bring it to you all. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
The My Pillow 2.0 is cooler and softer than the last My Pillow. It is so comfortable to sleep on at night. I look forward to going to bed, and I wake up well rested in the morning.
Sleep is all about temperature and height. My Pillow 2.0's patented adjustable fill is going to give you the exact individual support you need from your head to your bed. And now here's where it gets even better. We've all experienced those temperature-related sleep interruptions where you get too hot, you toss and turn, you flip your pillow over to the cool side. Well, all that's gone with my brand new My Pillow 2.0 cooling fabric that's made with temperature-regulating thread.
The best sleep just got even better. Whether you have a My Pillow or not, you need to get the brand new My Pillow 2.0. Call or go to mypillow.com now. Use your promo code, and for a limited time when you buy one, you'll get a second one absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
Visit mypillow.com.
And that's right. Make sure to go to mypillow.com or mystore.com and use promo code GG21. You can get a discount of up to 60% off on all the amazing products. You're going to be helping out the Glazov Gang as well as the great Mike Lindell. And if you like one-of-a-kind handmade art, make sure to go to lutfstudio.com and purchase resin art pieces made by the one and only, our producer, Annie Cyrus. Use promo code Glazov to get special discounts. You're going to be helping out Annie as well as the Glazov Gang. AJ Rice, what kind of pillows are you using?
We have a My Pillow here at the Rice household for sure. We have you know what we have? We all have pairs of My Slippers as well. So,
Okay.
everybody got to do the My Slippers. My wife likes different pillows than I like. She likes something that's a little more structured, whereas I just want to sort of vanish when I lay down. So,
Okay.
and I think sometimes when I'm laying next to her, I think sometimes she wishes I would vanish too. So.
So AJ, let's just get back for a minute. I want to, for a second, to humor and partly to music too. When we think about God's creation, some theologians say that creation happened to the angels singing and to a kind of divine orchestra. And there's a reason why Lenin said that he hated music, because he said music makes you want to pet a dog on the head and you have to stay angry. And we know that Islam on many levels has a problem with music. We know that Khomeini said that Islam is not about fun. So there's something there about hating real joy is you talk about. And yet these evil tyrants and the left, they like to mimic, and they like to, evil, it's the truth, but just slightly blurred a lot of the time. So they try to pretend they're all about joy, right? And so this is why Kamala was talking about joy, but there's always something very weird about their joy, because as you say, it's really just about misery. But there's something about Kamala's and Hillary's laugh that always struck me as being the opposite of real joy. You're a very good psychologist as well. What do you make of Kamala and Hillary's cackle?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that the intention of their laughs, I think, is birth control. I mean, I think that if you play that sound, to men, it sterilizes them. I think.
You mean it's the anti-Viagra?
That's right. That's right. I mean that sound is the harpies emerging from Dante's Inferno. I mean, that's what that sound is. I mean, it's an amazing thing. Kamala. Could it be that Kamala was more unlikable than the most unlikable woman of the last 100 years? Right. Mm-hmm. Up there with Leni Riefenstahl and Ava Braun and Hillary and the whole gang there playing. Although they had better laughs, Leni Riefenstahl had a better laugh, but AJ,
if you were to just guess, we can't prove anything here, but just with Kamala, I don't know, did they just create this weird comedy or something? I think that the demons were with malicious calculation tormenting and torturing us with the whole Biden Kamala theater. But I think it blew up in their face. But and I apologize for perhaps using terms I shouldn't be using, but I have to ask, is she mentally retarded? Is she mentally handicapped? Is there alcohol involved? Some of my friends say that they see some pill taking that might be taking place. Something is not right there. What would your guess be?
I mean, she's probably a day drinker, I think the most masculine man in history that she's married to, the one who, slaps his girlfriends around and then drives the nanny to Planned Parenthood, maybe he's sparring with her during the day. Maybe they're sitting around crying in their Chardonnay all day long. I don't know. But I will tell you this. I think with her, more so than even Hillary, Ice Cube and Dr. Dre and a lot of other sort of early 90s rappers had a term called studio gangster. Now, a studio gangster is somebody that, pretends that they're from the streets, but they're really not from the streets. Right? And Irish people have a term called a plastic patty. It's when somebody pretends to be Irish when they're really not Irish. I think Kamala, for all the talk about identity politics, really is searching for one, and she tries to grab these little nuggets of identity, and she becomes this sort of nightmarish woke potpourri, and she's really just a phony. And she's been able, because of California's problems, to fail upward. And if there's one thing the American people can sniff, and that's a phony. The American people really like two things. They like, meritocracy, and they like authenticity. So whether you're Reagan or Trump or Teddy Roosevelt or whoever it is, Jack Kennedy, most of the time the American people can kind of tell whether or not you're BSing them. And with Kamala, she'd be a terrible poker player because of the laugh. I mean, it's her tell, obviously. I mean, her job in that debate with Trump was to get under his skin. And we know she's an expert at getting under men's skin because the woman couldn't find a husband till she was 50 years old, right? No one would marry this woman. Are you kidding me? No one would marry this woman. And look at his face. Look at Jamie's face. Look, I mean, I'm just saying, it's another one of these situations where, she seems to be more unlike. I mean, look, Hillary at least had a daughter with Bill. It's the one time that they slept in the same room together. And you know that Chelsea is Bill's kid because look at that face. Look at that Bill Clinton. I mean, look at Chelsea's face. I mean, that's like Huckleberry Hound, that face. So yeah, I mean, that's, that face has got Arkansas written all over it. So you know. So in a way, because Kamala doesn't have any children, I feel like she doesn't have any skin in the game. Like I cannot trust her with our Marines, our airmen, our Navy shipmen, our Army. I cannot trust her with the government, with especially our armed forces.
But wait a minute, AJ, I think Putin and Xi would have been really scared of Kamala.
That's right.
But AJ, when AJ, thank you so much. AJ, when I think, throughout the whole time when I was watching Black Lives Matter, and I often thought, Jesus died for every single one of us. And so all souls matter, not just the souls of a certain race, right? And there's something very deep here. Obviously, the left, there's something very anti-creator, anti-God going on. Even this war on men that we see, I think it's very much the war against our Father in heaven. The war against women, obviously, also the war against our Creator and against Jesus's mom. The preface for your book, written by Prince Everett Ellison, he says something that really came off the page. He said that to accept white supremacy is to reject the sovereignty of Christ. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I should get Vince on with you. I mean, the guy is, he's like Black Superman, let me tell you. I think when you're talking about, removing the father from the nuclear family, it is a extrapolation, and it's not a far one, from removing the Father in heaven from society. If you go back to the time of Booker T. Washington, come all the way forward, at a wedlock childbirth rate in the African-American community and, quite frankly, the white community. I mean, you come back 100 years, you go from like 10% to 75 now, right, with African-Americans. And I think part of the reason the left is so obsessed with controlling every little, tidbit of life from us is because there was only one perfect person that came here, right? Only one. That kills them. They don't like that. The idea that there was only one perfect person, Jesus Christ, that drives them nuts, which is why they work, I think, overtime to create a man-made, miserable utopia here to try to offset this idea, which drives them nuts, that there was this one perfect person, and he didn't just like go to the freaking beach and put his feet up, right? He didn't go sit on some mountain and stare at goats. Oh no, he's this perfect person. He could end all of us like that. And instead,
and it means there's a hierarchy, which
absolutely. Instead, he decides to allow himself to be ended on our behalf. That drives them nuts. They cannot stand that because they like to control things, and they can't. With some certain things that are true, they cannot see. And it is a control mechanism. Yeah. If they try to use government to act as some sort of user agreement to be an American citizen, right? But this is why they have worked overtime too, to try to bring Karl Marx into some of these churches and baptize them right in front of us. Because some, I mean, look, I'm Catholic, but I am, in no way a fan of the current Pope. I even have a blurb on this in this book where the Pope excommunicates me from the Catholic Church in the blurb.
Well, in terms of the third secret of Fatima and how some theologians have talked about that and some of the prophecies of the saints, etc., there will be a great apostasy at the end. And I'm a believer, I think you as well, because I'm Catholic, that there is some kind of apostasy happening. This Pope, this is not a Pope. This is something on the dark side. But we'll have to discuss that at another time. But the left definitely is working through race, and you show this in your book brilliantly, but also with a lot of humor. You document in your book that diabetes, Alzheimer's, even math, they're all racist, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, if everything's racist, nothing is. And, we just went through an election where, everything was called racist, everything was called fascist. They ran an entire campaign on race, abortion, and Hitler, trying to call Donald Trump Hitler. And I think the American people have heard this garbage come from this little clique of really, really super white dorks that live on the coasts. And the amount of counties that they control is shrinking by the day. And, I think this is why Trump had a multi-ethnic working class coalition that voted for him, because I think most regular people, when they wake up in the morning, they don't filter their entire existence by whether or not they've got melanin in their skin or whether or not their grandmother came from Korea or the Philippines or, Poland or wherever the hell it is. I think they're sick of that. The Democrats have overplayed their hand, not just with globalism, but wokeism here. This was a woke Waterloo moment where they need to read the room, because pitting everyone against each other with race is backfiring. I mean, look, there were two blue walls that came down, right? The one that is the Michigan, Wisconsin, PA one. But there was a second blue wall that came down, and that blue wall runs from Brownsville, Texas to El Paso, Texas. These are counties on the Texas side that were blue, right? They're not exactly, Jamie, filled with Scandinavians, right? They just flipped towards Trump. So remember that old saying by George W. Bush, family values don't stop at the Rio Grande? Well, turns out MAGA values don't stop at the Rio Grande, because, it turns out that Hispanic people in Texas don't want the cartels in their front yard either. Imagine that, right? They don't want this. They don't want the sex trafficking. They don't want any of this garbage down there. And we hear this crap every 6. Ted Cruz is going to lose. They're going to flip Texas blue. It's garbage. It's garbage. Hispanics are now moving towards the Republican Party, and that is a death knell for the Democrats if they don't change their behavior. And none of these groups, none of them, want Bill and Gary in the bathroom with their daughters. I mean, they're out of their minds with this stuff. So, keep it up. Continue to lose elections. And, Rice and the gang will applaud you on your way to, Gomorrah.
AJ, our time is up, unfortunately. I wish we had another couple hours. AJ, have you been invited on The View yet to discuss your new book?
Well, I heard that The View was looking for a MAGA-focused, panelist. I don't know how many of these, women that, Ellen DeGeneres just deported herself. I'm keep waiting for the women on The View to deport themselves, but I don't think we're going to be so lucky. But, it's funny. Maybe they'll, if I choose one of the other 72 genders, maybe they'll let me come be a panelist.
Yeah. It's real cringe stuff watching that show. You mentioned Don Lemon in your book. He got schooled quite a bit on slavery and reparations, didn't he?
He did. A lot of these, man, Don was a lot of these people don't, and this was after the Queen died. A lot of people think that, that we're the only country that went to war with itself to end slavery. I mean, England did it because of Wilberforce with an act of parliament, right? And then the British went out on the high seas and started stopping the transatlantic slave trade. So he got schooled because, there are plenty and plenty of people in the United States, white people, that are descendants of people that tried to stop slavery.
Yeah.
And if you're going to give reparations to the descendants of slaves, people that were never slaves, people that never, owned slaves, then you gotta spread those ducats around, right?
Yeah. AJ, do you I don't think what I'm saying is original by any means. It's just something always on my mind. Don Lemon, his messaging always definitely anti-white. Kamala Harris messaging very anti-white. Then you look at who Kamala's married to. You look at who Don is married to, or if it's his boyfriend. I can't keep up on it. But they're with white people.
Are they the same person? No. Go ahead.
They're with white people. It's eyebrow raising, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I think Van Jones is married to a white person too, or he was.
Yeah.
Look, they're, I don't know all the different nuances of this, but there is an overcompensation. Almost like, you got to have street cred.
Yeah.
I remember Obama giving these speeches about how he doesn't have slave blood, but Michelle does. Right? Michelle's got slave blood because Obama's father was from Africa, right? So, and his mother is from Kansas or Hawaii, wherever the heck she's from. But there is this sort of need to try to, to try to keep it real or to try to get street cred. Some of these characters out there, very light-skinned people, they seem to sometimes be the most radical with some of the race stuff. And it's almost like they're fighting some sort of internal demon, right?
Yes.
I know from my experience, the German half of me and the Irish half of me are always trying to outdrink each other. Okay. And it gets into it can get messy on St. Patrick's Day and during Oktoberfest, right? It can get very sloppy.
AJ Rice, for those people that perhaps just came from a deserted island after 20 years and have not heard of AJ Rice or are not sure, but you would have to really be a little bit clued out because you are the GOAT. Where do they buy the White Privilege album? Where's the best place to go? And where should they start visiting you?
Well, anywhere books are sold, Amazon's probably best. And look, we just put out a paperback of The Woking Dead, so you can get both Volume 1 and Volume 2, both on Amazon for great prices. But Barnes & Noble has it, Books A Million has it. I was thinking if this election didn't work out, Jamie, I'm going to be selling these books in the gulag with you, right? You and I will be selling books together. But my day job is to run Publius PR. And we work with a lot of publishers, but we also work with people that don't have books, people that want to get their message out there. So if you are a conservative or a Christian or somebody that, a deplorable or a libertarian, and you're trying to get out there, get your message out there, and you want to, get on great shows around the country like this one, go to Publius PR or find me at the Publius National Post on Substack. Just DM me, or call the 1-800 number. We don't just work with, big stars that everyone, Don Jr. and Judge Jeanine or whatever. We work with all kinds of people that, care about this country and care about Western civilization, care about the middle class. So, this country is yours, right? This is your country. So not all cultures are created equal. We got one culture here. We're not multicultural. We're multi-ethnic. There is a difference. So if you want to defend Western civilization, hit me up.
AJ, I kind of think about Don King in a way, like just in terms of his promotional talents. I think you would have been a great boxing promoter as well. I can see it. How about you?
Yeah, he and I have the same haircut, so I think I think that would have worked out fine.
The GOAT, AJ Rice. Thank you for joining the Glazov Gang. We hope you'll come back soon.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you for being here. You know,
Okay.
have a white privilege album Christmas.
Okay.
Get out there and get fighting, brother.
Okay. What a privilege and a pleasure to have you on, AJ. Thank you. Everybody, make sure to go to Amazon and buy the White Privilege album right now. It would make a great Christmas present and Hanukkah present. We'll see you soon on the Glazov Gang. Good night.